I'm going to take you step by step through each flower you see here, each felt flower you see here, and teach you how to make it using the petals in my Felt Flower Design Hub membership. So for this first felt flower, we are starting with a center that is 3 inches by 1 inch long. Put glue along the length of it, fold it in half, and then snip along the whole folded length of this strip. So I just do little fringe snips all the way down and then roll it up, keeping the bottom flat. So just kind of tuck it in and hold it and keep rolling. And I will secure it at the end with hot glue. And so I just do a little bit of glue and then hold it tight, let the glue harden, and that is ready for the petals. And then what we're going to do with the petals is add a little bit of eyeshadow for some shading. And I do that on the bottom of all 8 of the petals that I will be using for this flower. This flower uses petal 6B. 8 of the same petal, and this is the eyeshadow palette. I'll link it in the comments or in the description. I use the Rave hairspray to make sure that the eyeshadow doesn't rub off. I added a little bit more to the center, and then I'm going to just spray it with hairspray really quick. And because I don't want to wait for it to air dry, which you totally can do, I'm going to use this heat gun real quick, just to quickly, dry that hairspray. And the nice thing about this is it keeps the eyeshadow from rubbing off and gives us a little bit more stiff felt to work with, which I like for this flower. So I'm taking these petals, just putting a little bit of hot glue at the bottom and pinching it around the center. I'm going to do 4 around the center, and I just do 1 across from the other to kind of space it out evenly so we're not left with an uneven gap, but these 4 fit really well right around this center. And then we're going to do another layer of 4 more petals, and after this one is pinched on there, then I'm ready to go to the second layer. So for the second layer, we do the same thing. We just put 4 petals along the back and just fill in those gaps. So we put it behind where the 2 petals in front of it meet. For the second flower, we are going to use a 1.5 centimeter felt ball for the center, and then this petal is shape 8C, and I cut little slits, little triangles in the top of each petal, and I'm kind of picking different spots to put them in. This just adds a little bit of detail. You can do this after the shading, but I went ahead and did it before. So now that I have those little notches cut in, I'm going to actually use pan pastels this time and a sponge. This is like a little makeup sponge instead of the eyeshadow brush, and I just started by adding some to the edges. I wasn't sure how much I wanted to add here, so I kind of started with less because you can always add more later. Once I decided how much I liked it, then I went ahead and put the whole top of my makeup wedge in like flat, and that put more makeup on there, or more pan pastel. This is actually like a pan pastel that I'll link for you, that's like an art material. So I'm just dabbing that on the top of all 5 of these petals, and then I'm going to place it around the center here in just a little bit. And once I have the right amount on, I'm going to go ahead and spray it with hairspray to seal it and let that dry. And for the center, I have the 1.5 centimeter felt ball and some fringe, and I'm going to wrap this fringe around twice, so it's 6 inches by 1 inch wide, and I go all the way down. I haven't folded it, I'm just cutting fringe, and this was shorter than the 6 inches, but you will need 6 inches to wrap it twice all around this felt ball. I had to change that later, so I really wanted it to go all the way around twice because I like the fullness of that. I pieced together a few different strips I had, which you can definitely do, but if you don't want to do all that piecing together, then a 6-inch strip will be enough. Okay, so just kind of made sure that I hadn't actually accidentally gone too far. I needed to cut some off right here because I'd gone too far, but you really just want it to wrap around twice. Then once we have that fringe glued around, we can kind of play around with it, but you'll be able to change it up later. Once you add your petals, it'll get smashed anyway. So for the petals, these are easy to put on. We just do a little bit of glue at the bottom and then line it up with the bottom of the center. And then we're going to just put 5 all the way around. So just kind of keep an eye on that. I overlap them a little bit. I would kind of be able to scoot these around as I place them. So you can do that. Like I didn't press super hard when I first put the petal down on the center. And then that would allow me to kind of like scoot it over if I needed to. Okay, so I really want to just pay attention to make sure I'm not overlapping too much or too little, but 5 should fit perfectly right around the center, and it's okay if they're not even all the way around. Don't worry about it being perfect. And you can add a little bit of hot glue. If it's coming open too far on the back, then hot glue the sides of the petals together a little bit. Get the flower situated how you want it. You can hairspray it again at this point if you want the center to kind of stay exactly like you want it, with it standing up a little bit more in the middle. But we are finished with this felt flower. Now it's time to make this pretty little accent blossom. So when I'm using a felt ball like this, I kind of look at the size options I have. Now this is a really small 1 centimeter felt ball. I can put it in the center of this flower and it will fit, but it just looks a little bit too big, I think. So I prefer to kind of go up a size. Okay, so I'm going to use it. This is a flower shape A and B, and then I'm just going to use size B. So I'm going to put some hot glue in the middle and put that felt ball right on top. Oops. Okay, and then I'm going to put just a tad, like tiny little bit of glue along the base of each petal. And then I'm going to bring them up and hold them and get them to kind of stick up the sides a little bit. They're not going to go way up, but just a little bit. So then we've got that little flower like that. You can't see any glue, but it's just kind of nestled in the middle. Okay, our other option for this style of petal, it's the same size felt ball, but what I want to do this time is cut off the individual petals, and we're going to get a totally different look when we glue them on. One thing I like about this shape is the petals are all a little bit different, which I think adds to kind of the uniqueness of the flower. Just do a little bit of hot glue at the base and then just stick it, and it's going to point up a little bit more. Okay, and then I'll just go around to the next one. Little dot of hot glue, and then when I put this on here, I'm going to overlap it a little bit. I'm just going to make sure there's similar heights. Now the bottom may not look the same. We can trim that off when we're done. I'm just going to kind of tug it on, and I want the height at the top of the petal to be about the same. And that's something we have to pay attention to when we're putting on petals individually like this. This one's a little skinnier. And I'm just kind of looking to make sure that this space over here is going to work out for my last petal. I'm just going to stick it in there. I want it behind on one side and in front on the other. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Pretty subtle difference, but same flower, supplies used. These petals just come up a little bit more, and these lay more open and flat. Okay. Now to make this pretty Gerber daisy, we start with a center strip that is 4 inches by 1 inch. Do glue along the length of that flower, fold it in half, and then cut fringe along the folded edge. We are going to roll this up to create the center of the felt flower. Then with just a 6 inch by 1 inch strip, we cut fringe along the whole length of this. We're not folding it. This is the standing tall fringe. Then we wrap it twice around the center of the felt flower. And we're ready to add our petals. We're starting with the small petals. These are petal 1B. We're going to use 16 total, and these fit nicely if you just put them side by side all the way around the center. And then you're going to come around with a second row of petals that will peek behind or between the two petals in front of it. So do 2 layers of these, and then you'll do 2 layers of big petals the same way. And for this flower, we're using the same petal shape as we just used. We're going to use a styrofoam egg that's 1.5 inches tall, and I'm just using a scrap piece of felt to cut a circle. And this is going to go on the larger side of the egg. So I've got a little hand cut circle, and I was trying to decide which side to put it on, but I ended up going, I think, the larger side. And I just like to run this rub it in my palm. That helps smooth out any creases. And then this is the top of our felt flower, and I'm using a little washi tape roll here to keep that egg from rolling around. Okay, so we're using small petals for this center, and we are going to use petal shape 1, size A, so the smallest option. And I'm just doing a layer of these, and I did 2 across from each other, and then I'm filling in the gaps with 2 more for a total of 6 petals on this first layer. Then we're going to use 6 petals of size B of the same petal shape 1, and we're going to just do another layer a little bit further down of this petal, and you can look at the finished picture. If you're a Felt Flower Design Hub member, then there's a guide that has a picture that will help you, but we're just putting these down in between those smaller petals, and then we're going to do an outside layer. And for this layer of petals, we are using size C of petal shape 1, and we're going to need 12 of these. And you can definitely adjust this as you want to. This is just an option. I did 6 petals for the first layer. I did them directly across from each other and then filled in the gaps with 2 more on each side. This helps space them around evenly. So I did 6 petals on the first layer and then 6 petals on the second layer